I call to order the Board of Trustees meeting for Tuesday, August 2nd, 2022, and the time is 6 o'clock. Ethical principles and parliamentary procedures. Trustee Johnson, would you like to give the invocation?
Sure. If you'd like to stand, bow your heads with me. Dear Lord, thank you for this beautiful day in Etna Township here, and thank you for its citizens. Thank you that you give us the freedom to be within this country, that you provide the people that protect us, people who want to harm us or change our way of life here. We pray for those families as they miss their loved ones when they're out protecting our freedoms. Amen.
Amen. Please join with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Varian, roll call, please.
Mr. Evans?
Here.
Mr. Johnson?
Here.
Ms. McKee?
Here.
Laura, is your mic on?
I have mine off. Maybe mine just turned down.
I think it's yours, it's on.
Mine? You can't hear
Oh,
it?
it is.
No, it's, I'm getting
Feedback? Okay.
So maybe back off. There you go, try it now.
Is that better? Is that better?
That's better.
Okay, so I'll just talk straight.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, I move to adopt the agenda. Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion?
I won't move to add anything that I requested, but I would ask that public comments be moved before the presentations. I think the public, number one, just time constraints. Some people do not have the time to sit through however long presentation it is. And also they might have some comments on those presentations. And then I think what you have under road department, where we're going to talk about the resolution for the rejuvenator and the OPWC application should actually be either new or old business. I don't think it's appropriate to be under reports.
Is there a second?
I second it. Or for what? Is that you made a motion?
For his motion.
Oh,
So
Roll call. Is there a discussion? Or remark for your remarks that you just made?
No.
So hold on. Is there, we're talking about his,
Mark,
Mark's
you made an
discussion,
actual motion to amend the
A
agenda.
yeah, made a motion to
Correct.
amend agenda,
Correct.
So
put
you need
public
a
comments
second
prior.
on his amendment.
Right.
Johnson seconded.
No, he was seconding her motion, not your motion.
That was already seconded before.
Jeff, were you seconding the amended motion?
No.
And now you need discussion on your original.
okay, so back to discussion on the original. Roll call.
Mr. Evans?
No.
Ms. McKee? Or sorry, it doesn't matter. Mr. Johnson?
yes.
Ms. McKee?
Yes. I move to approve the minutes for July 5th meetings as presented. Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion?
I just got these. These weren't emailed to me. Not sure why. So if we're going to move forward, I would ask either for a recess, 5-minute recess, so I can go through this.
Sure.
So
I'll give you 5 minutes, that's fine.
I move for a 5-minute recess. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Procedure-wise, you had a motion and a second. You can't recess in the middle of the motion. You have to withdraw the motion. You're in the middle of a motion. Because he.
I'll withdraw my second of the motion.
Okay. That's fine. We'll go into recess. That's fine. That's
So
fine.
is there a motion to recess?
Yeah, that's fine.
Who's making the motion?
I'll make a motion to recess.
I'll second.
6:04.
Don't we have to vote on it?
Roll call.
Mr. Evans?
Yes.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Ms. McKee?
Yes.
Or not, we're turning the other So we got to turn up the what here?
That is absolutely. Say something else.
Test.
Can you hear me?
Still out?
Is that better?
There's still feedback.
Try it now.
Hello?
Is that better yet?
Is that better? That's on point.
I think it's picking up interference from back when you
So
Why
feedback.
don't you slide it over?
Slide the thing
Slide that
down.
whole podium back. It might be close enough.
I don't know where it probably is getting from that thing here.
Sorry, better.
Is it better now?
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Best.
Any feedback?
Why I turned it off.
Yeah, feedback on the speaker.
There is
Now-
still feedback?
now
When you pull it this forward this way, it might help.
It's already
It's
doing
kind of not right.
It's still doing it, so we're still picking it up?
When it's on, it's when it's,
My mic was, my mic
Testing, testing. 1, 2, 3.
better. Chuck, can you hear us?
I turned it down back here quite a bit.
The last meeting, I thought we were pretty good, but
Fixed it, but
I think this got the podium got moved out of your way when you guys had that meeting.
Turn it right back on. See what's back on. Video.
I was just tapping mine to see if it's gonna get feedback.
working away from these things and they stand here that blocks it.
Jeff, I think Lori said you shouldn't have it lined up with us.
Yeah, well, I was trying to get so you stood in the speaker and block the sound. That's what I was trying to do when I set it up there. That's how it's supposed to work. You stand in front of it, blocks your sound and all that speaker. Right.
You done? Okay. Ready?
Yeah.
Okay. I'll make a motion to come out of recess at 6:07.
I'll second.
Roll call?
Mr. Evans?
Yes.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Ms. McKee?
Yes.
Hey, no, mine's off.
So do I go back to...
Now you need to make the
Oh, okay. I move to approve the minutes for the July 5th, 2022 meeting as presented.
I'll second.
It's okay. Discussion? Roll call?
Mr. Evans?
Yes.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Ms. McKee?
Yes. Thank you. It's Rob Blevins for...
He's not here, he's
Okay.
out of town, I don't see him now. So I just skipped.
Okay, Larry Taylor with Trebel Energy, is here to provide information on the Etna Township Aggregation Program. Would you like to present, Mr. Larry?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Larry Taylor. I'm with Trebel Energy. And back in 2013, Etna Township and Trebel Energy teamed up. Together, Etna Township and Trebel got on the ballot where it was passed to authorize all actions necessary to effect a governmental gas and electric aggregation program. So we've been partnering together on this as a team since 2013, and I just wanted to take this opportunity to thank you for that. Prior to Volunteer Energy filing bankruptcy, the residents in the gas aggregation program enjoyed a guaranteed savings compared to what they were paying in the Columbia Gas Standard Choice Offer program. The residents in the electric aggregation program have saved over $250,000 in just the last 25 months. At Trebel, we understand the importance of always putting the residents' interests first. That's just one factor in why Trebel has been able to be successful. We operate efficiently, ethically, professionally, and timely. We want to continue to succeed at saving money for the residents of Etna Township. Therefore, I've attended the last 2 trustee meetings to discuss the market volatility and the need to put in place a new EMA with some new language giving Trebel Energy the ability to make some quick decisions that will ultimately benefit the residents. The board has had the new EMA for several days now, and I'm here this evening to ask the board to execute the new EMA so we can continue to partner together for the good of the community.
I did read your Energy Consulting Management Agreement, EMA. I forwarded over to our prosecutor's office, and there's 4 modifications to the standard language that we would like to see happen. So we can take the agreement and strike it and send it back to you guys once we look at it as a board, and then get it back over to you. So that's just what I think. Yeah.
Ms. McKee, can you provide me with that opinion of the prosecutor?
Sure, that's what I just said. I would, after the board looks over it, exactly. But yeah, he just responded to us today, so I'll get it to you.
And then I do have some questions for you.
Yes.
At the last meeting, I had asked you, and then twice via email, regarding your fees. You danced around that a bit. What are your fees for electric and gas that you add on to the supplier fee?
I don't believe that I danced around it. I was pretty direct in saying, and I quote, that I don't believe that it's in Trebel's best interest to divulge our business practices. I think what's important is that we're a successful entity. We do what's fair. We do what's in the best interest of the community. And I also mentioned in that letter that if you were to ask me, or someone was to ask me what the definition of a successful small business would be, it would be simply that we would be reaching our goals, which in this case is saving the residents money, and hopefully there'd be a little bit of profit left over at the end for us to make a living.
Okay, well, I'll stop there. I was just asking for your fee. I think it's important for transparency that is a fee that you require those suppliers bidding to agree to. And as the entity you're contracting with, I think we and the residents should know what that fee is. Now, I finally did get a copy of your original contract. Thank you. The township did not have that. And in that contract, your fee is stated. Is that your current fee that you're charging for at least the electric aggregate?
I have no idea. I don't know what that's stated, but I can say that it probably wouldn't be, simply because that decision is not made until that moment when we've decided to pull the trigger and execute an agreement. It all depends on the market.
Well, according to the original contract, your fee is stated in that contract, so I would be a little concerned if that fee has changed since then. But it's at 2 mills for the electric, and I've been doing a little due diligence, asking around, and that's about 4 times other companies' fees, and then same with the gas. So I am concerned about the level of the fees, if they are the same or more, but even more concerning is that you would not disclose those fees, which are added on to the supplier costs, which our residents do pay. So I would encourage you to explicitly state the fees. And if you don't have that, I think you should get that for the board.
Yeah, I have no idea. From 2013 till now, that's 9 years. The market changes. I am familiar with the term 2 mil. I don't know. I would disagree with the information you've been given that 2 mil is 4 times. The average,
Well,
That's not the case.
I've spoken to a company, they do it for $500,000. So
well,
that's,
it's extremely easy for any supplier or anyone to tell you what they would or wouldn't do. But the bottom line is that we've been in business for a long time. We represent 160 some communities because we do the right thing. We are in business to make money.
but
And in order to stay in business for that period of time, we need to do what's in the best interest of the community. I think it would be safe to say that if we were executing an agreement with the supplier and with the township interest in mind, and we were able to make 4/10 of a mil or 6/10 of a mil, we would be tickled. But I don't make that decision. I
right,
have no
but
idea.
I'm going on off of your current contract,
Okay.
and like I said, it's explicitly stated in there, again, it needs to be disclosed so that we can compare it, because we're here to benefit the residents. And if your fee's higher, they're being charged more as opposed to another aggregation company. And then the other question I have is, in this contract, do you know when the current contract ends? I know the current
September of 2023.
September 9 of 2023. Okay, I was trying to find that out. And I know the current electric aggregation contract expires, I think, the May 2023.
September of 2023.
But the current contract with the supplier, the rates are good through May. That's why I saw it on the PUCO website. And
It is in 2023. My notes do say 9 of 23. It is 5 of 23.
I'm just trying to determine what's the contract and whether, because here you're asking us to sign a 5-year contract when typical aggregation terms are 2-3 years. And you're going to have an kind of overlapping, which will continually require us to be with you. And I think that our business and this contract should be earned, not locked in for 5 years, and that especially not exceeding the term of typical aggregation contract. So I'm highly concerned about a 5-year ask for the term, and especially where it's not aligned with the aggregation agreements, because then you're just perpetually rolling it over, and we won't have any other options. So
You stated that you believe that it should be earned. The fact in the last 25 months we've saved the residents $250,000 that they now have to put back into the community, how is Trebel not earning the right to ask for a renewal of an agreement?
if your fees were lower, the savings would be even more possibly. So
If
what I'm
we didn't
concerned
charge
about.
any fees, we would go out of business. It's not comparing apples to apples.
Correct.
You have no idea what we charge. You have
That's
no idea.
that's the point.
You have no idea what other suppliers charge.
Yes, I do.
You may. You
I
may.
do.
Okay. And in order for us to be successful and be competitive and do what's in the best interest of the residents, there needs to be profit in there.
Correct. And the
It
other.
can't be compared.
but-
It depends on the market. You
But
can't compare
it's all-
that to
it's
another
all about-
supplier.
It's all about transparency and justifying your fees. And when I spoke to another company, I asked, and without hesitation or equivocation, stated their fees. And I'm a little concerned that it's not the same here, because again, it's transparency, and we need to compare to decide, do we want to review? Do we want to look at other options for our residents? Because other communities, Liberty Township, chose not to renew last year. And for legal reasons, they said it prevented them from sharing the reasons in the article. So people do change. It's just like your auto insurance. If you've got it for a while, it's good to shop around in that, but you need to know the rates. You need to know the fees. And again, even your contract states the fees. And I would like a verification of what your fees are today, because they should not exceed these fees. So I would like that information from you, but also what your proposed fees are. I think that's reasonable.
I think it's reasonable for the, if the board president, you know, we are in a partnership with the board, and I would believe that, I think that should come from the board, not just from one individual on the board.
I wholly disagree with that. I mean, I do believe it is also public record. We could do a public records request, and in your contract, you agree to provide the information. So per your contract, I'm asking for your current fees, and also the proposed fees for this next contract.
I am not an attorney. I am the messenger. But it sounds like you guys do have a solicitor, and probably be appropriate that that question be asked to our solicitor, or our general counsel.
Okay, well, I'll make a motion to table this until we get further information and guidance.
Guidance.
Will we ask any other questions on this, or can we just go make a motion?
Or I'll withdraw my motion if you want to have more
All right,
discussion.
yeah. Question for you. So in the past, we've done a contract with you. You're getting us the best rate by grouping other townships, other entities together, right? And gotten us a rate, gone out and shop for a rate and getting an agreement rate. The more people in the group, the better price you get. Is that correct?
I don't know if Mr. Bocastro has done that in the past, but that is a common practice, that there is a benefit if we can put 2 or 3 townships together at one time to get a better rate quote. Yes, we would definitely do that, but I don't know how they did that on the last.
I've been around for a while on this thing, so that's how it was explained to me.
Okay.
So I didn't know if you guys are still doing that or not. Next question is, so you go out and you get the price, to kind of throw a scenario at you. So you get a price, you come back to us and you say, here's the price, we sign a contract with you for that price, and then you get all the people that aren't currently in an aggregate program or with you, all those people get letters and are put on your program, correct?
Generally speaking, yes.
Okay.
That's
If
correct.
you're already on somebody else's program, not Columbia Gas or not AEP or whatever, then you get in with you. Well, I'm sorry, not AEP. If they're in with AEP or Columbia Gas, if there was somebody else, they don't go because they already have a contract, correct?
If they've currently chosen a different supplier for the gas or electric, then they would not be eligible. They would not show up on the
Okay, so
list
everybody else will get this new price.
Correct.
Okay, so if they want it out because they saw a better price, better description, they can get out with no fee.
Correct.
No expense to them. They just have to fill out paperwork.
Correct.
Send it
They
in,
can
right?
send the paperwork in, or they can call the supplier and simply say, this is so-and-so at this address. I would like to be taken out of the aggregation program, and they be taken out and sent back to the utility.
And how many days is that, like a 30-day or before it overturns?
It's usually just the billing cycle,
Okay, no, it's like-
which is typically 30 days.
So then they decide with the new place that they don't like whatever the new one they went to or whatever. Can they get back in?
Absolutely.
And it's no fee to them?
No fee to get back in.
All
Correct.
right. Now what if somebody comes out of one that they're already with? Another company, say company A, come in and they don't like company anymore because their price went or whatever. Can they get out and get back with you, no problem?
They can. We would tell them to please check with their current supplier to make sure there isn't a big cancellation fee. But yes, we would just simply take them and put them into the aggregation
And
program.
how many times do you allow them to jump in and out of your program?
As many as they'd like. We don't keep track of that.
So they can come in, they can go to a different supplier if they like. It's lower for, say your price goes down across the board or whatever, and yours is fixed all the time, right? It doesn't jump around, so they go under, so they get a better deal here, then it goes up and it's over, so then they sign back with you.
They could do that,
Right.
absolutely.
Okay.
Just depending on what arrangement they made with their
Yes.
supplier.
Right, and with your company, there's actually no cost to get it out, correct?
Correct.
Okay, that's all to make sure. So basically what you're offering is you're offering a set price that's been shopped around at this time for a number of years or a period. That's good, and you can get in and out of your program anytime that they like. That's,
Yes.
okay. All right.
Now, in regards to that, on the PUCO, Public Utilities Commission site, I was doing some research, and some of the documentation on there when this was first created, there are limitations of, I think it was 21 days when there's a change, and it has to be agreed to, and that rate's not guaranteed. Are those still in effect, or has there been changes made?
The only thing I'm familiar with is that there's a period of time when the aggregation program is implemented that the residents, they're notified, and then they have like a window of time, which I believe is the 21 days, to not get in the aggregation program. Then after that 21 days, they are automatically put into the aggregation program. Whereas at that point, they can stay in it, get out of it, and there's no extra cost.
But according to language in that document, it's if you make a change midway, they're not guaranteed that rate. They have to, basically the supplier through the agreement would have to agree to the same rate. So there's more, and that's why I think we need to discuss this a little further. But as far as opting out, do you contact, once people make that decision to opt out, do you contact them again in the future to try to get them back in? Or do you honor that they want to opt out and you leave them alone?
Two parts to that answer. They will be contacted again, because what we do is we simply, right now the AEP market is 723 is the price to compare. And so it's in the township's best interest, and it's in the residents' best interest for Trebel to send out a letter to these folks that are not in the aggregation program and say, hey, you could be enjoying the rate of 4 or 5 or whatever it is, compared to the price to compare. So those folks would receive a letter. So that's the first part of that answer. The second part is that I believe that Trebel is the only company that does this, that we have we've worked it out to where if there is a resident that calls and says, hey, I keep getting put in this, I keep getting out of it, I don't want to be in it, we have the ability to put them into the system where they will never be sent another letter again.
Okay, I would think that once they opt out, that should be a no contact. They shouldn't have to do something further to do that, but I think that's a small point, because I did hear there were some kind of issues in other jurisdictions about being repeatedly contacted after they opt out. So, and the other thing, like I'd just like to reiterate a request. Can you verify, the current contract end date and the electric date as part of the information, as long as with your rates? And then as far as the savings, I think any aggregator will provide savings to the residents, but it's how much and what service. So again, in my research, I've found that there's other aggregators with about 1/4 of the fees. And I had planned on having one here tonight to answer questions, but the contract terms seem to preclude any discussion with any other aggregators with this. And you're nodding yes, and I think that limits us, whereas I got a contract from another township, and they actually allow for, during times of bidding, for seamless transition, because it seems like according to your contract, we can't talk to anybody or have anybody come in here until your contract ends. Well, then we'll have a period of time while we're trying to do stuff, where others' contracts actually allow for that in preparation of either a change or termination. So I would like to see if we can modify that current agreement so we can actually talk to other aggregators and see if this is the best for the residents, because right now we're relying on the company to tell us what's best for us, and I think we should do our due diligence in making sure, because these are multi-year agreements, and Trebel's suggesting a 5-year agreement, and that's a long time. And like I said, I think that the renewal of it on a yearly basis should be based on performance and what you're doing, not locking in, you know, keeping us in that relationship there. So that's my comment with
That was
that.
it. Because I see on this attachment, it has three years on it. Exhibit, attachment one.
First page on the bottom, 5 years.
You know, it's one on attachment says 3. Actually, no.
The aggregation with the agreement with the supplier could be 3 years. And that's where it says, this agreement shall be effective beginning on the date of the last party fixes its signature of the agreement and shall continue for 5 years or until the end of the term of the aggregation programs with the selected supplier, whichever comes later, or until the agreement is terminated. So
it's a 3-year, contract on pricing and up to a 5-year contract with them.
right, but then you get 3 years. Now you're going to renew for 3 years. Their contract ends in 5, but you're still in that one year, and then that contract's going to extend. That they should end at that aggregation, so you're not locked in. And again, any business should be earned, not locked in.
Is that correct, sir?
Yes, he's correct.
Yeah, because we did a 3-year before.
Yeah, that's why they're always doing it 3-year, because that's what we locked in a 3-year and then renewed it.
Yes, with the new,
That's
with
why
the new
I
EMS.
saw the 5-year and I just was like, why was it 5? That maybe it was a typo or something, to tell you the truth. But
Is there a reason you asked for 5 years?
That's 5 years is the EMA length of time that's being presented to all of our cities, townships, and villages.
Ms. Marion?
So it sounds like, and correct me if I'm wrong, but if you were to agree to this, I'm asking mostly as a resident, all the residents are actually already like opted in by the trustees agreeing to it, and we have to make sure we opt out in order to get out of it. Is that right? And we're already going to pay 30-day billing cycle because the trustees have opted in. Is that correct? Is that right?
I don't think it has anything to do with the billing cycle.
Well, you
I
said
think it's just the
you're
rate.
kind of like locked in for a 30-day billing cycle before they'll take you off the plan.
if you're not already in somebody else's, that would be correct, I think. Because
I don't think it's instantaneous. I think within a billing cycle, it'll be either added in or out at your request.
But as residents, we're automatically opted in.
Ms. Brown?
I wanted to speak up earlier. Trebel gave us information, and it's on the website for the electric, where you can go through on that electric, there's a link for the PUCO, and you can be put on a list through them that you'll never be put on an aggregate program again. You would have to choose it. So you wouldn't, but on the gas, we never had that option. So on the gas, do you have a list for the gas where the residents can call Trebel directly for the gas? Because I didn't see one with the PUCO on the gas.
Specifically how it happens, I'm not 100% sure, but I do know that we can put whether gas or electric on in our...
On the internal one through Trebel.
Correct.
Now Scott provided us with this other link before, and I've sent several residents to it that didn't like getting pulled in every time, and they went on this do not aggregate list and they didn't get pulled in it. And that's on the main page of our website.
And that's my point of speaking to residents and hearing other concerns in other communities, that they're taking the steps to opt out, and it's almost like they have to opt out again. And it should just be a one-time thing. I know you want more people in it and that, but I think people can make their decision, and it takes effort to opt out. So I think that should be respected, and that should be a change, or part of the agreement with any aggregator, that once they opt out, they're not contacted again, because other aggregators do that.
Well, I'm pretty sure that's a PUCO function. So, I guess we have to take that up with the PUCO about whether somebody opts out. They probably already addressed it, and that's why there's an option to be put on a list where you're never contacted again.
Now that's for electric, but he never gave me one for gas, and I couldn't find one for gas.
Well, I know that
But
we
if
can
there
do
is
that.
one for gas, I'd like to add that link to our website.
Okay.
And then, as Jeff indicated before about how the process goes, say you go to, we don't have anybody for gas, so you go to somebody for gas right now, negotiate a rate or get a bid on the rate. It would be up to our discretion or approval to implement that rate, correct? You wouldn't automatically just go for that rate, correct? Okay.
I believe that it states in there that if we go and negotiate a rate that's less than 80 cents per cubic foot, I think that we can.
Yeah.
That's what you would be
Without
agreeing
board
to.
approval? Oh, okay, because right now the rate's 79 cents. And
That's on that.
again, you don't get a fee unless people are in that program. So theoretically, you could just get a bid at 80 cents, get everybody in the program, earn your fee, and we're not saving anything. So I would like it that the board has final approval on everything, just to ensure that the residents are getting the maximum savings.
Are you saying, Mark, that we're paying a fee on top of the 80 cents?
No.
Oh, we're not, so it's part of.
No, but he's saying in the contract that they're asking for automatic approval that any fee, any charge that they get under 80 cents,
Right.
they can just go ahead and get,
So they get a price of 70, then they're making 10 cents.
or they could do it at 79.
But they tell us it's 80, but they got it at 70 for themselves, so they make that difference, is that what you're saying?
No, they're not making, they're getting their fee, whatever, but what I'm saying is that the board should have, as in other contracts, that client retains sole discretion to accept or reject any offer brokered by the consultant for natural gas supply. You can do electric, regardless of the amount of savings which may be realized by the offer. What I'm saying is, we should retain more control than giving them automatic.
What if they don't come back with another rate? You're stuck, right? Because you're already in the contract.
You're just with the utility provider, you're just with your utility provider, and a lot of townships right now have sent, Liberty Township sent everybody back to the AEP and Columbia Gas, and it's actually saving right now gas. This isn't imminent that we need, the contract's not expiring till next year, and I don't think you really want to lock in. From what I've seen, gas rates right now, maybe more towards the fall or winter for the season, but yeah, I think we need a lot more due diligence in this, and especially speak with other companies, which I think may require the current agreement to be modified unless Trebel would waive that, so that we could really research this, and if Trebel's the best company, so be it. But I think the residents deserve that we really look into this, and especially with other aggregators, and again with the fee discrepancy that I've been seeing.
Well, you also said that we needed to earn it, and we have been earning it for 9 years. So that's kind of frustrating from my perspective. I certainly would probably take it a lot differently if we hadn't saved the township any money, and you said you wanted to go out and shop it and do what would be in the best interest of the community. I can understand that, but we are still under an agreement. I'm not an attorney, so that's going to have to be discussed, what's appropriate, but we are right now in an agreement and have earned the business and have done a great job for the residents. My dad used to tell me, don't waste a bunch of time trying to fix something that ain't broke. And this is just my opinion, but I've got over 250-some thousand reasons as to why it ain't broke. And I just find it hard to believe that the township doesn't have something else on the agenda that is much more important than trying to fix something that ain't broke.
Well, I would disagree, because this is very important to the township and savings. And just because you saved one amount doesn't mean we couldn't save more. Again, your fees.
Well, and the grass isn't necessarily greener on the other side. And we have proven ourselves, and we've done a great job, and we've earned it. And so what you're telling us is that you don't appreciate the fact that we've done a great job.
No, I'm not saying that at all. I'm saying my review of this, there's several red flags, your fees, the ask for a 5-year commitment. And this contract is very one-sided towards Trebel. So
Well,
again, I've got a lot of questions. I think we need to do more due diligence with this. I would like to, again, see it waive the exclusivity where we can't talk to others. And I think we need to verify that with the prosecutor, because other companies are hesitant to come in and discuss because they don't want to violate any terms or put us in jeopardy, legal jeopardy, by courting us. But if your service and everything is as you say, I think you should welcome competition. I mean, I as a contractor happily encourage people to get estimates, talk to other people, because I can justify what I'm providing. So I would hope you can do the same.
Again, I disagree. I think that we've earned the business. I respect the fact that you believe you need to do due diligence, but we've proven ourselves for 9 years and are a successful company and have done nothing to look out for the best interest of the residents, and that's not what I hear coming from you. I'm hearing that you don't trust us, you don't believe us, and that you want to go out and see if the grass is greener on the other side. And again, I'm not, from a business perspective, I don't necessarily think that's a bad thing, but I don't think it's warranted in this case.
Okay, and I just have one final question or request. Can you shed light on why Liberty Township made the change to not renew the
I
contract?
personally have no idea. I have no idea. It's not my community. I have no idea.
But your company was involved in a contract with them. They chose not to renew. You don't know why they did or the reasoning why. They won't, because they say for legal reasons. So there was a reason, it appears, that they chose not to renew.
I honestly don't even know if Liberty Township is our customer. That's not my, I'm responsible for 30 programs and Liberty Township is not one of them. But I do know that if you're bringing up reference to one township that's left, we still would have 159 other programs with people that are happy.
I've spoke to others too.
President McKee, whenever appropriate.
Yes.
I would ask Larry if he could indicate what the cons are. You're providing an opportunity for Etna Township to renew early. What are the pros associated with potentially doing that? What are the cons associated with potentially doing that real quick?
The pros are simply the market is extremely volatile. I am not the guy that sits back at the office and makes all those important big money decisions, but the guys back there look at futures and they may say, look, it looks like for the next 5 years, the futures are telling us that electric's going to be 9 cents a kilowatt. So right now we might be able to lock it in for 3 years at 7 cents. Well, the gas and electric market is just like the stock market. It changes from 1 minute, 1 second to the next. So it's unfortunate that Mr. Evans believes that we would pick up the phone and call the supplier and say lock it in at 7 cents without calling the trustees and saying, hey, here's the situation. Here's the futures. We think 9 cents is going to be what it's going to be for so many years. We think we can lock it in at 7 cents. That's what the market's telling us today. What do you guys think? That's what we're trying to accomplish. The other little bit we're trying to accomplish, or a pro would be, is that there's certificates, annual certificates that need recertified, and typically we have to chase down trustees and chase people down to get these certified. They're time sensitive, they're very general, and we would like to have the authority to, on behalf of the trustees, to renew their aggregation license and ability to get a list from AP so we can do a mailer, just to save them time and to save us time. It helps us be more efficient.
Okay, Madam President, one more if I could.
Yes, sir.
Okay, in the aggregation program, and I've got some experience with it,
in my professional career, and it's not perfect. I mean, it's inconvenient, and that's why the voters of any entity have to have a referendum so that they can go into this with eyes open, knowing that everything does not favor necessarily the public sector. It's a combination of a public-private partnership to give the private sector the ability to group a customer base to negotiate on the basis of a group, which provides it more power to negotiate better rates. And in doing so, you know, there is inconvenience associated with opting in and opting out, et cetera. So I think, you know, having some additional time left on the contract provides for some additional clarification on some of these issues. It is true that this is not a perfect situation in all scenarios for a local government and what it is attempting to do on behalf of its residents, but there is some give and take, and you get back some in the rate reductions that you're able to negotiate. So I would recommend for the consideration of this board that we, and we don't have to necessarily do so this evening, but clarify the specifics of any remaining questions we have if you're not prepared to move forward this evening, and, you know, get all the answers that we can before, you know, such a time as you are prepared to move forward.
Yeah, it's not uncommon for trustees, general counsel to contact our counsel and have discussions. That's very common, so we would expect that. I think that it mentioned that this is a draft agreement, which is exactly what it is. This is a general draft agreement, and we want to do what we can to make the board happy and do what's in the best interest of the residents. And if that means that general counsels need to talk and work out some things, then that's fine.
So Vance, you suggested we table this? Is that what you're suggesting?
I would recommend at least a meeting, unless you would like to go in this evening, but it appears, you know, some things are just the way they are. And you can argue that they are not fair, but they are just the way they are, and that's why there was a vote by the residents of Etna Township as to whether or not they were fine with the aspects of what was being proposed at that time in 2013. Larry has indicated that it saved over $250,000 according to their calculations in the last 25 months. So if it's saving money, it's working too. It's worth, you know, continuing to investigate, and I think some valid points were brought up, and let's just clarify those so that we understand clearly before you make a commitment like this for 3 years or 5 years going forward. That would be my recommendation for your consideration this evening.
And the one thing I'd just like to say, I would push for a waiver from Trebel to allow us to discuss with other aggregators, especially with the proposed 5-year contract. So I think that's in the best interest of the residents, and to say that the residents had, which I'm getting a feeling from Mr. Vance, that it went to referendum, the residents voted for it, yes, but they trusted us to have their best interest in heart. So that's why I think we need to really be careful with this. And I mean, one analogy would be you could go buy a new truck from somebody, and one salesman will save you $500 and say, hey, look, we saved you $500, it's worth it. Well, if you go to the other dealership, they might save you $5,000. And unless you do your due diligence, you don't know. And if you're purchasing that vehicle for somebody else, you have even more of a duty to make sure you get the best price and the best service. So that's all I'm saying there. And I actually want to make a motion to table this for further consideration in the future.
I'll second.
Discussion.
I want to make Scott earn it too, believe me.
Roll call.
Mr. Evans?
Yes.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Ms. McKee?
Yes.
We had Scott here lots of times.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank you,
Mayor.
guys, I appreciate it.
Thank you, Larry.
Thank you. Mr. Vance, would you like to speak for Rob Blevins? He didn't make it today. Did you have a conversation with him today in regards to the security operation system?
Mr. Blevins did indicate he does appreciate our business, and he has been successful at taking care of our needs in the past. He did have a price that was approximately $2,000 better than the next best price based upon providing quotes on what it would take to provide security camera services to this facility. I'd like permission to move forward and ideally bring something back in the next meeting to get this done. And if there's any individual questions that you have, you could email them to Laura Brown and myself, and we could get answers prior to the next meeting.
He did say so that he apologized, but he had an out-of-town work thing that came up, so he couldn't hear. He was going to try to make it. So he was going to
I'll just talk to Rob individually.
Okay.
So I might do have some questions. Okay.
Okay, we'll move on to public comments. Please limit your public comments to 3 minutes. Let's come up to the podium and state your name, your address for the record, please. Thank you.
Good evening, Gary Burkholder, 254 Trail East. I have several items, so I'll try to go through this as quickly as possible. I had the opportunity to go to the Lincoln County Planning Commission the other week, and I really just went to see if there was anything on the agenda that would affect Etna Township. And during that discussion, there was a great presentation, which I think is on the Facebook now, about all the major developments within the county, and a lot of those actually are taking place here in Etna Township. But during that discussion, there was talk about the Scannell project, and to the credit of the staff and the county commissioners, they addressed many of the problems and issues there. And then the director also talked about some of the problems that have been identified and brought up here by residents regarding the FedEx project with the lighting, the water, the noise, and the nuisance that it's creating over there. So while I had not intended to speak, I went ahead and expressed my concerns as well. I thank the staff because they've been very helpful in providing information for that. So as a result of that, I have some documents that I'll give them to the fiscal officer, and then the trustees can review those, but I would also like them part of the public record here tonight and have them available in case other residents would like to request a copy of those. First of all, the first document is July 14th, 2022. There's what they call at the county a TRC, which is a technical review committee, and there are various people from the fire department, from the township, from soil and water. And so I'm going to be submitting to the fiscal officer a 10-page document that goes over many of the things that they're addressing that still have not been addressed at that. So there are quite a few of those. The second document is going to be, and included in that, in fact, are also documents from the county engineer regarding that. The second document is an August 1st violation letter that was sent to Scannell and Mr. Harrington, in care of Mr. Harrington. And that document is an 8-page document, and it has in there numerous violations that remain unresolved. The other thing I want to point out in that document is that I believe it's on page 6. It talks about that there is a 7-day time limit on some of the short-term deficiencies, but that there is a 30-day limit for compliance on some of the longer-term deficiencies that need to be corrected. The great thing about the Lincoln County Planning Commission meeting was that I also learned that this is not just something that gets enforced at the county level, that's the subdivision regulations, but it is also enforceable here at the township level, and that has to do with the planned mixed-use development zoning code that we have. So I still have concerns that I'm not sure that Scannell is in compliance with our PMUD, and I think it would be in the best interest of the township and the residents if we could either have an internal review or another third-party review to ensure that Scannell has totally complied with our zoning resolution. So
Thank you, Mr. Burkholder.
I'll be submitting those documents. Well, the last,
You want to submit them to Ms. Varian and she'll get them to us?
yes, and the last document I have is relative to
Again, 3 minutes is limited, because if I do it for you, everybody else will.
No,
Thank you, I
that's
appreciate
fair.
it though.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Another. Somebody else?
I'm sorry, I signed a sheet back there, and I'm waiting on someone to call my name.
Oh,
Terry Dunlap?
Terry Dunlap, thank you. I'm Terry Dunlap, Blevins Township Trustee, Fairfield County. And I'm here with an issue that I would just like this board to consider. We're a homeroom township, and you guys are not, you're statutory. And being a homeroom township, we have the luxury of going both ways. And we had a lot of truck issues in some of our township roads. And we passed a resolution where they had to pay a civil fine and the money comes to us, where if you pass a resolution, it goes to the county. We're asking this board to look at Tollgate Road. We have Tollgate Road posted all the way from Refugee to the township limits with you as no through trucks. We don't care about trucks that are delivering or going to people's residences or businesses, but when they use it as a shortcut, that's a narrow road, it's heavily trafficked. And for example, tonight, when I come up Tollgate Road at Route 204, I counted 27 cars waiting to go through the stop sign. And as I came on up to 40, I counted 19 more that were going to go get in line. And when trucks mix in with that, it creates quite an issue. We would like you to consider passing a resolution declaring Tollgate Road from the southern township limit to Route 40 as no through trucks. Now that won't prohibit trucks from turning off of 40 and going into FedEx. Then put another sign there at FedEx that says no through trucks, an arrow to the south. What's happening is the smaller trucks, not the big semis. Once in a while a semi will go that way to take a shortcut. But it's the smaller trucks, and they're just as wide and they create a lot of problems and a lot of traffic. So anything you could do to help us with that, we would appreciate. We're going to be contacting the Lincoln County engineer about the same issue on Main Street, because when it gets to Fairfield County, it becomes Wagram Road, and it's posted there, and the trucks get down there and they have no place to go. So we're going to ask them for consideration to help that as an interim thing. You know, if Palmer Road develops, then we'll have to rethink that and look at it and see what we can do to adjust. I know the future is going to grow. We're getting warehouses on our end, and like you have here, and the chip industry is going to put a lot of flakes out, so to speak, in the other parts of the communities, and a circle around Columbus or New Albany for about 70 miles is going to be, all of us are going to be affected with housing and business and so forth, and we have to look at that. So if you could consider that, posting Tollgate Road as a no-through truck. It doesn't have to be the signs like us, because we're a home rule township and we could do things that you can't. But even then, the sheriff can look at that and watch that. And if you could ask your car that works here in the township to look at Nantucket out of the New England subdivision, because they come out of Lincoln County into Fairfield County at 50, 60 miles an hour. So perhaps a little enforcement on the north side would help with what we're trying to do on the south side. Appreciate your consideration and your time, and I thank you.
All right, thank you, Terry.
I have a question. They used to have a sign on Tollgate Road, right? Before FedEx was, like, right at
I'm sorry,
Tollgate.
your question is?
Didn't they have a no semi sign at Tollgate and 40? Because I swear when I moved here, there was one there.
They would have
And
one
then-
just as you come out of the town.
Well, so I know that one, but it wasn't there one there
That's
before?
a 204 coming north, yes.
But there was one before FedEx, right? Because I've asked about that multiple times.
No, I can't tell you about that.
Well, I'm newer to the area, but I live on Tollgate right there.
thank you.
I'm sorry.
You're fine, Terry.
My name is Chuck Bundy, 10254 Tollgate Road, and this is pretty neat because I just talked to Mr. Dunlap this past week about this same issue. And yes, Rachel is correct. There used to be a no-through trucks at the north end of Tollgate Road, but once Scannell and FedEx and all those people got done tearing up the road, the sign disappeared. Now, I won't go over what you said already because you did a very eloquent job. But he did tell me the other day that if a township has over 18,000 residents, I believe he said, the trustees can make it a home rule township. Now, to go into it a little bit deeper, Mr. Dunlap told me that when they post these signs that show how much a fine could be, up to $1,000 is what their signs say. They, Violet Township, would collect those fines themselves. But if they're not a home rule township, then the fines would go to the county. So it might be something that eventually you guys might want to consider. If we are over 18,000 people, you might want to consider being a home rule township. I think it was very eloquent what he said, and I do hope that you will consider putting up some you might put a weight limit on it. I don't know. But these big trucks, 18-wheelers, 14-wheelers, the dump trucks, you know, they go all the way down to Violet Township, through Tollgate Road, and it needs to stop.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Rachel Zelazny, 10141 Tollgate Road. I was asking because I don't know if there would need a resolution to put the sign back. That was my point. But a couple things with the energy. I know he left, but he stated how the grass isn't always greener. I would state that the grass is greener where you water it. So I don't understand why doing a 5-year contract for 3 years guaranteed what's going to happen in those 2 other years. Why not have the fee disclosed? If you're not matching what our contract is that we currently have, why should we go in blindsided and just say, okay, yes, like that doesn't make sense, and I don't know why the responses were the way that they were. I don't think just because I say so is an answer, personally. But that's not really what I came here today. I also believe in giving credit where credit is due, and I do want to thank the staff of Etna for working on Tollgate Road with the stormwater issues that has been affecting my land. It's not done, it's not perfect, I don't want to jinx myself, but we're getting progress. So I do appreciate it, and I wanted to state that as public record that I do appreciate you guys' help in the situation. But also the trucks, they weren't ever supposed to be there. And they do, sometimes my driveway is a U, and sometimes they try to use my driveway to turn around because there is a sign of $1,000 fee once they get there. So if they don't hit Palmer where there's an accident 3 times, 4 times a week, then they're turning around in my driveway. But I think that is all. Thank you.
Thank you, Rachel.
Judy Kathmeyer, 29 Roma Court. Good evening, everyone. On July 20th, 2022, the Community Advisory Committee met and discussed an interesting concept related to the future of Etna Township. Mr. Leonard provided a look forward for Etna Township, but this plan will not be possible if we continue building warehouses and allowing unrestricted building projects to ignore basic rules and regulations. We are leaving ourselves wide open for out-of-state and foreign interests to come into the township and erase our cherished rural character and personality. People move to Etna Township for a unique quality of life for themselves and their families. In fact, over 50% of the respondents in the initial land use survey in 2008 stated that as their #1 reason to live in this township. Another survey will be sent out in the coming weeks, and I believe 14 years later, that #1 reason will still be the #1 reason. Which brings me to my favorite topic, the need to establish Etna Township as an exclusionary zone from large solar and wind farms. Ms. McKee suggested that I bring up this topic at the CAC meeting. I did, and it was positively received by the members of the committee. Now let's move forward. Put forth a resolution and adopt it. With Mr. Johnson on the CAC and Ms. McKee's encouragement and Mr. Evans' support, this looks like a 3-0 affirmative vote to me. Etna Township has led the way in demonstrating to our adjoining neighbors how warehouses can provide tax revenue. Now let's lead Licking County as an exclusionary zone and show other townships how they can benefit as well. Lately, I've been researching the process enacted in northwestern Ohio, and we need to begin action on this process sooner than later. It can be done expediently, but it needs to be addressed and enacted. As I've stated before, the barbarians are at the gate, and we need to be ahead of this proposal, not looking from behind and wondering how acres and acres of luxurious land became acres and acres of ugly and worthless solar panels and windmills. And finally, I want to thank Mr. Evans for the very informative presentation about the repaving road projects in Etna Township at the July 19th meeting. You showed the residents how their tax dollars can be effectively spent by efficient and targeted projects instead of random selections. As a concerned resident and taxpayer, I urge all of our trustees to vote affirmatively on this time-sensitive issue. And by the way, Mr. Evans, I believe that you've earned at least half of your 24 grand on this.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm sorry.
Bill Black, 13398 Palmer Road. I wasn't going to say anything tonight, but comments here tonight caused me to remember a phone call I got today. I got a call from a realtor in Tucson, Arizona, making an inquiry about the availability of land in Etna Township and areas around Columbus for apartment complexes and for development for rental. And I thought, our environment here in Central Ohio is definitely taking notice, not just locally, but nationwide. And I think maybe that might have a role in some of the thinking process that we all share. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody else?
Judy Newman, 9630 Lenz Road. I would just like to piggyback on some of the things that Gary said. Scannell is taking way too much time to make these improvements. I'm familiar with construction. Everything has a time limit. If they don't finish in 7 days or 14 days, they have to submit a change order. I mean, from my perspective, it's taken Scannell 4 to 6 weeks to get back to Mr. Vance. That's unacceptable. You know, I think they should be given a week, 10 days to respond. They should not be just taking their time and pushing this farther and farther back. I understand they're going to address the wall. We would like to see them push the wall back away from our property. It's way too close. There's no way that they're going to be able to maintain it. And I think for consistency, it should be the same height as for aesthetics. It should be the same height. It should not go from 22 down to 10 in the middle. And that's all. Thanks.
Thank you.
So I just wanted to to first say I'm really excited about Community Day. I really am. I've been hoping to look for...
You state your name and just...
Oh, sorry. Ashley King, 75 Trail East. My fault. Always forget. So before the meeting, I read through the agenda, and I mean, everything on here made sense to me. Although I did see some of your comments, Mr. Evans, about it. I understood your reasoning for wanting public comments before presentations, but at the same time, if we don't have the presentation to understand some of the questions that we may need to ask, it might not be beneficial to us to have comments before the presentation. We probably wouldn't have known about some of the things that were going on with Larry Taylor and Trebel, however you say it. So I think it was more beneficial to have those after, because I don't think you would have gotten some of the comments we did on it. For the town hall security cameras, I'm happy to hear that you guys found a good option. I hope you guys are able to get something implemented soon, even though Mr. Blevins wasn't able to be here today. Looks like a lot of the things on here are already on. I was reading through your list, and I wrote it down because I don't have my phone. But the road discussion looks like it was added. And I was reading through some of the other stuff, and you have the JEDD on here, but that's under, what, 6H? And then the sewer capacity, you have water and sewer on here on 6D, so you can talk about those things during that, I would assume. The Laurel Drive project, I reached out about that, and my understanding from the last meeting was that they needed to get the signatures before anything additional could happen. That's how I took the comments that were made during the last meeting. That's not how you took them when I talked to you, and I understand maybe I wasn't understood the same, but I would really hope that we're starting to move forward and the residents are starting to move forward on getting those signatures so that you guys are able to move forward with the 4.2 acres that they are requesting to purchase. Other than that, honestly, I just wanted to give those brief comments based on those things. But I just want to say you guys may want to reiterate, you need the signatures. From my understanding, that's how I took the comments last week. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Can I do one more?
Sure.
I just want to say I'm a proud Watkins warrior, class of 1957, and we're having our 65th reunion on the 19th of this month.
Where?
At the wigwam on Route 204. Being a township trustee, I have a little pull about So we're having a catered dinner there, and we're just going to have a great time, and we're going to be in the Patasco parade, so watch for us.
All right.
Thank you for your time. I have a 7:30 meeting, and I'm going to be late for it.
No, thank you. We'll see ya. So we should move on to our, is there any more public comments before I move on? Any more public comments? Okay. Let's move on to our reports. Road report was provided by our road crew and our superintendent there, Bubba. Mark, do you want to say anything on that? I'll turn it over to you.
All right. Again, the resolution to authorize the asphalt rejuvenator. I'll make a motion to approve the resolution to authorize asphalt rejuvenator agreement as presented.
I'll second it. Discussion? We tried this back in 2008. Is it Reclamite? Is that correct?
That is correct.
And we found it was not, it made it look nice for a year, but it really didn't do much for the roads.
How did you determine that? Because all the due diligence I've done, and our pavement management consultant, as well as Violet Township, Reynoldsburg, they all suggest and use Reclamite because it extends the useful life of the road instead of just a crack sealing and allowing it to degrade to the point of replacement. This is a very small portion that can extend it 3 to 4 years at about 11 cents per foot versus $7 to $12 a foot for replacement. I mean, there's tons of studies in Minnesota. I mean, there's a lot of information that shows this works, and my question would be, how did you evaluate that? Because a lot of jurisdictions, and we even looked at some, Bub and I, down in Violet Township or Pickerington, where one road was treated, one wasn't. Some jurisdictions will do one side of the road and not the other side, and there's a remarkable difference in preservation to the road, which the Reclamite replaces the maltines, which as soon as it leaves the plant start deteriorating. There's maltines and asphaltines. There are other options. Some use soy, some use kind of dieselish products, byproducts, but they don't have the performance as Reclamite does. So we may have tried it in the past, but I'm not sure how that was evaluated or how that was compared or how it was applied, any of that. I'm basing this on, again, our pavement management consultants' recommendation, as well as speaking to many others and doing a lot of research that this is the way to go for the small price that it is. Because with this, we could treat 18% of our roads. And we invested a lot of money in the last 2 years in paving, and this will extend that life. New England Acres had our roads paved not that long ago, and they're already deteriorating quite a bit.
As far as cracks, are you talking about cracks or deteriorating because they got the base isn't very good on it, or
the cracks? I mean, unless you start doing core samples and studies, you can't tell if the issues from the base up or not. But our management consultant said that a lot of our degradation is top down. It's the UV, it's the environment. It's not a structural. So that's where this Reclamite would provide that benefit. And again, for about 11 cents a square foot versus $7 to $12 a square foot for replacement. Violet Township just approved the contract they're doing at Reynoldsburg. Quite a bit of agencies are going this route, and again, I think it's a lot less costly to preserve than to just repair and replace.
But I think the issue was that they did nothing to stop the cracking of the roads that were, you know what I'm saying, because a lot of those roads were paved right over top of the chip and seal. That was been there for years, that we've done chip and seal. So we would find it was a benefit to pave them again, to put a second coat of paint to firm them up rather than reclamite them, which didn't seem to have an effect. Didn't hold up because it wasn't. So are you saying that now that since our roads are pretty much, they're not being crushed and pushed as much, that would hold, it would preserve that way, or?
Based on our roads, and I spoke with Jared on our roads, and he had indicated a lot of times instead of just capping, he would recommend milling and then capping. And I think what we've been doing has been beneficial to the community, because our average road rating is high, but again, it's using our funds in a financially responsible way to preserve those for the longest period of time. Like I said, New England Acres right now, the road condition based on some other ones, there's a big comparison. And again, Bob and I went out to Violet Township, Pickerington, I forgot exactly where it was at, but you can see the difference, and it's a tighter road, and it's as soon as that asphalt's laid down, the rate of degradation is high. So the first few years, that's when you want to catch it, and we've got a lot of roads that are at that 90 and above that this is the perfect treatment for, to extend that. So it works. There's study after study done comparing the different different products, and Reclamite is up there.
For the record, that was resolution number 22080201, and for your motion, I would suggest that you list out it's going to pavement technology with the amount.
Okay. So should I amend my motion or pull that motion?
It's probably important to
Pavement
know that
technology is a company
it's
we're going to.
$154,730.20 technology.
Okay, I apologize. So I'll pull that motion. So I'll make a motion, resolution 220802-01, resolution to authorize asphalt rejuvenator agreement in the amount of $154,730.20 with Pavement Technologies, Inc. Is there a second?
I just got this today, this report, so I'm sorry if I'm going out here.
And for the record, Jeff, you withdrew your second for that first motion.
I will,
Put in all your
yes.
discussion. Just go ahead and leave all your discussion in there above before the resolution.
Are we still waiting on a second? And I believe I did send all that information to the board when I got it from Pavement Technologies.
No, I'm talking about the total. I just got that.
Well, I sent that estimate a week and a half ago. I just resent it today for the ease of finding it, so Laura could print it, but you guys have had that information for quite a while.
I'll second the discussion again. How much other paving are we going to do this year then?
That's in the next topic, but if you want to cover that. Right now,
Money-wise, I guess, how much?
well, it depends what we're doing. You saw the estimates that I provided for the Etna proper east-west Pike and Etna Crest Boulevard. I think that was 450,000.
Yeah, so you're sticking with that same figure you had before, right?
Well, Jared's behind.
Okay.
He said maybe another 2 weeks before he gets to us because it's first come, first served. And I'm not sure what we're going to pave, and that's why I want to talk about the OPWC. And I'm trying to make sure that we can do something here.
Okay, so you presented me with this report, which I've already studied a while ago.
A month or so.
Yes, correct. So it looks like you just took the report from this and took it down to this, correct? Am I reading?
Well, it's in that report, there were recommendations that anything over a 90 would benefit from the Rejuvenator application. So I went through, and not every road that's a 90, because I went neighborhoods, the Laurel Drive, the Mayflower, all those that would benefit the Orchard Glen. So that's what I used the report in conjunction with our consultant.
Yeah.
I've spent a lot of time discussing with our
So
consultant.
these are
Thank
all
you.
these roads on here are only like a year or two paved.
And that's what you want. Some applications are immediately after pavement.
And so if a road is going to last us 7 years, it should last us 10 years then, right?
Yeah, that road should last a lot more than 7 to 10
What I'm
years.
just saying though, that if we had put that stuff on it instead of 7 years before we repaved, it'd be 10 years repaved. We put this stuff on it within the first year, 2 years maybe.
Right, and you'll still have to do minor crack sealing at the joints. It just depends what the stresses are on it. But again, if you go, and there's a lot of information out there, there's a lot of jurisdictions. This isn't like this is untested. We got to try to figure out if it works. But they'll do the north side treated, south side not, same road, and it's remarkably better preserved. And again, costs for asphalt are just going to increase. So anything that we can do to extend it, and the total paving that previously was $429,000 for Etna Crest proper. And Pike Street. However, like I said, I want to talk about the OPWC since we're getting so late.
Well, personally, my experience with it didn't work well. That could have been because of how we put it down and where we put it down on possibly.
Did we put it down ourselves or did
Well, no, I mean, we had it put down, but I'm saying maybe we put it down on an older road or something, not a newer road, and tried to make it extend it out 3 years, which I think was what we did. We put it on an older road and tried to make it last, is what you're saying.
And that's what this is not for. And once your road hits under 90, you do not do the road correctly. It's already degraded too much. Those small teams have come out. It's going. So
Jeff, if you look at those minutes I pulled for you, it was pavement technology and Refugee Road and Pepper Tree were done the same way the year before. You look at those.
They were paved,
Yeah,
right?
they had just been paved.
And we did on those?
Mhm.
I thought we did try to extend one.
It's on those minutes I pulled for you. It was pavement technology.
Okay.
And we had done Refugee Road the year before and Pepper Tree the year before.
Okay.
I mean, it doesn't matter to me what you do or not, but those minutes that we looked at, when you asked me to see if we had done that rejuvenator before.
Right.
It was with pavement technology.
Yeah.
In 2008.
But I didn't know what roads they were on. I didn't know when we had paved that road, because,
But in the history, it was the year before. Just
Okay.
like the Pepper Tree had just been done, just like Orchard Glen.
all right.
It could be a better product now, but it was the same scenario.
All right.
President McKee, whenever appropriate.
Yes, sir.
Just one comment for consideration, $151,000. Is the prosecutor okay with going forward with a sole vendor?
yes, that was part of the process and took quite a while to verify. Our township prosecutor wasn't familiar with the process. This would be going through a state bid where they had bid with the state approves the amounts, and that there was a question about could we have it applied? And the way it actually is material delivered and applied. They do that with bridge beams, they do that with everything else, and Carolyn Carnes today gave that approval, and I think she copied you, or I also sent it to you, so I've been working on that, but the prosecutor is fine with going with that bid process because it is a specialty application. If we did bid it, they're the only ones in the area that apply that, so if we spec Reclamite, probably just going to have one, and now we're pushing later into the season of all right, can we even have it done? And then if we wait till next year, the roads are another year older, some might not be able to be applied. But yeah, so going through the state bid, those amounts are already approved by the state, so we could purchase trucks in the same way. So yeah. And the prosecutor did approve the resolution.
How would we track this?
Well, we track it because we have an ongoing contract, well, we have a 2-year contract with Pavement Management Group who will continually analyze our roads in that scientific method, and we'll be able to show the results. Because right now we can quantify this road's a 57, this one's a 59, and that was the whole point of bringing that management consultant in, to quantify everything, to make those decisions. And again, this isn't my recommendation. I didn't come with it and say, hey, this is a new idea I have. This is what's recommended by the management consultant, and also based on Violet Township and the others. Mr. Dunlap's not here anymore. You could have probably spoke on that a little bit. So I think it's for the best interest financially for the community, as we're going to have more and more roads, more and more the trucks deteriorating the roads, so we're going to have more expenses. So the ones that we can extend the life of, I think would be very good benefit.
Yeah, most of these are in, all of these are really in.
Mostly residential.
Yeah, they're all residential, so the trucks aren't driving over them, which.
But there's some.
Hold up a lot better in those.
But I do have Columbia, I think it was Lynn, anywhere where there was a benefit and the road condition was good enough for the application.
Trustee Evans, for the record, when you say management consultant, you're talking about management group, not Mr. Vance, right? For the
Pavement
record.
management groups.
I thought that, I just want to make sure I have it. Thank you.
So I guess if we can track this, I guess we can try it on, just see what happens with them. And they don't make me a believer this time, I'm not currently, but I want to try something that you
Well,
believe.
like I said, I mean, I don't think we need to be a guinea pig on anything. Hundreds of other communities that have done this, have done tests of the one side, the other side, of stopping, and then, I mean, I can give you addresses of the road locations where you can see it's a tighter aggregate, tighter package. UV and water are the same, so it keeps it out. I think it's a small investment, it's $154,000, and we've given away millions. This is an investment in our community, and I think it'll pay off. If anybody had any other questions, I'd be happy to answer. And again, this was 150-some thousand for treating 18% of our roads. I think it was 1.2 million square feet of roads would be treated out of our 6.8. And if we would have done this earlier in the year, we would have saved 15%. I mean, costs are just going up. So instead of $1, Violet Township got it $1 per square yard, we're at $1.15.
Can you seal that on top of it, doesn't matter.
Right, it actually penetrates into the road. There's no need to restripe. Okay. There's no, and the application, there's videos online. It's a fluid applied. Sand is applied to absorb any of the excess, and then the following day it's swept up. And they handle everything as far as notifying people, posting signs, all that.
You don't have to close the road to do it, do it?
It's for, I believe, 30 minutes.
Okay.
So it's a very short window.
Bubba, do you have anything to comment on that?
I mean, like Mark said, we went and looked at it. I mean, it was in a subdivision. I mean, it wasn't a heavy, heavily traveled road. I don't think it was. I mean, it was just a basic subdivision. And you could tell the difference between the roads. Like this carpet, it was smooth and also grittier. But I mean, if we're on a 10-year pavement plan and you're rotating on the roads, I mean, I don't know. I don't know if it'd be a waste of money or not. I don't know. I didn't see enough of the heavy traffic, If we just want to put it on a road, I'd like to go a road like Route 40 or Etna Parkway, something that's got construction trucks, because that's what, we've got a lot more, traffic out here. We just basically went to a little subdivision that's got a 4-way stop sign, and we looked at it. Yeah, there wasn't, quite some cars, but I'm not doing something.
I can see it in maybe a residential neighborhood where there's not that much traffic on it, where we keep the road nice and it would hold together better and it'd be a better surface for the community there. But the high usage things, I think we're better off paving at on those roads. That's the way I feel about it. And that's what I see on the Columbia roads on this one, and what was the other one that was a big road, Columbus Parkway.
The new section on Columbus Park.
Yeah.
And those are.
So those are the two we need to watch to see if it has the effect on it, I think.
I mean, they didn't say that there was going to be any kind of warranty on this stuff or anything. They said that, every couple of years, and then, 2 or 3 years, and then 2 or 3 years later, you have to come back and redo it.
Well, they said you can reapply after 3 to 4 years, but whether we want to or not, or what it'll accept. But I agree on more heavily trafficked roads, the deterioration due to weight and all that might be more to it, but a lot of that is caused by that water penetration, that the UV allowing that water to get in there to degrade it. But yeah, and I think our roads, we should be able to keep them longer than 10 years. Well, and because that's kind of a higher replacement rate.
It's
it like 11 and
It
21?
won't fill cracks. I mean, it prevents, cracking more, but
Yeah.
it don't stop cracks, it don't fill cracks, and nothing like that. That's my whole thing, because if it fill cracks and, keep it from coming or spreading up, yeah, it'd be awesome.
It's the micro cracks that it's stopping it from trying to start, but the larger stress cracks, it's not going to fill, it's not going to prevent. You're still going to have some filling with crack sealing and that, but again, like I said, I can forward the Minnesota or Montana studies. This has been thoroughly investigated, and I don't think it's just a crapshoot that we say, hey, but it's a very small portion. Again, 11 cents per square foot versus 7 to 12 for replacement. Even over, if you average 10 years, that's 70 cents to about 20 a foot per year, and we're doing 11 cents to try to preserve it.
Any more questions? Anything else to say? Mr. Evans?
I don't know a whole lot about it.
Okay, thank you. Roll call?
Mr. Evans?
Yes.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Ms. McKee?
Yes. Okay, Mr. Evans, you want to go ahead and move on with the OPWC application?
Oh, right, yeah. On the roads, like I said, we had a late start in getting the information to the county engineer to get his engineer's estimate and provide bid documents. He's still about 2 weeks out. He hasn't even gotten to our stuff yet, so I'm getting a little concerned for the timeline. As I said, we had Etna proper east and west on their Pike Street, and then Etna Crest Boulevard. Etna proper east and west, quite a bit of area there. And just a quick note, I did speak to Jared, the engineer, regarding the alleys, Mr. Johnson. You asked, should they be done or not? He recommends that they are done at that time because of, as I indicated before, the cost savings in the scale of the project. If you try to get somebody in there to chip and seal, most of those companies don't do that. They'll bid it out. You're going to be paying more for less of a project, the project. And he said while they're there, it's easier for them just to turn in that alley, mill it, resurface it, and that's the way to go. So I would still recommend keeping those alleys in there. But as far as the OPWC, the engineer requires that by August 16th, they receive any request for OPWC funding because they have to do traffic counts. There's quite a bit more than just the engineering estimate on this. Jared said that due to everything going on, he won't hold us to officially do that, but if there's an email or I'd like to get a board action here, if he had 2 trustees that said, we can switch something over to OPWC, that he could work on that. And right now, after consulting with our pavement management group consultant in Bubba, I believe that Etna proper east and west could hold on until spring. And it might be a benefit to switch those to the OPWC funding, which, like I said, last year's would have been about $200,000 for the grant portion. So we could actually see a savings of maybe $200,000 to $300,000 for the township, since it is a mix of grant and lower no interest loan. So I would like to propose that we give that direction to Jared, and I think we could probably also bid it out if we get it soon enough and try to get some work. But if he's 2 weeks out, we're gonna have to advertise it. It'll probably be about a month before we get any bids in. Now we're looking into September, and if we want somebody to try to pave it in October, I think that's gonna be a big ask. I still wanna move forward on Pike Street, because that's critical, and then the Etna Crest Boulevard at minimum. So I would like to see if it's okay with the board if I tell Jared to put the Etna proper east and west into the OPWC so he can start work on that.
And you're saying that would be next year?
That would be paving for next year. We could probably get, in March. You really don't want to do any late season paving. I mean, you might be able to do something in November, but really October is the end, and I think we're pushing it. Right now, we said no companies are telling people no when they put a bid, but we got another couple weeks before we even get anything from Jared.
So you want to do the alleys in the proper except for Pike Street? Is that what you're saying?
For the OPWC, I'm suggesting that we end up proper east and west, alleys and roads.
Oh, alleys and roads, okay.
Into the OPWC application. It's not due until November 4th. And like I said, technically we're supposed to let Jared know by the 16th what we want in the OPWC. So I still have to let him know, but we don't have to do another application for assistance. Okay. And then I want to move forward with the Pike Street. Once we get his engineering estimates, Pike Street and the Crest Boulevard for paving this year. Because that was the other part of what was submitted to him for engineering estimate. And previously last year, like I said, the OPWC application was for Etna proper east, and I think that was like 280,000, where like 200,000 was would have been the grant portion if it was awarded, but adding the Etna proper west would be about another 90,000, and then we would be adding the alleys too, which would probably increase it. And then if we don't get awarded the OPWC grant, we just move forward with paving. And the one thing with OPWC, you can't do any of the preservations on its own, so that it has to be paving that. So that's where I'm thinking. And if we do get awarded that, it could be a couple $100,000 savings. I wish we would have moved forward with the application last year, but we can only do what we can now.
Okay.
So as a board.
For the record, is that paving only on the east side of Pike Street, so it's maybe on the west side?
Yes. And it would only be, what we're only looking at is 1.5 inch cap. Bubba had already got an estimate from one of the contractors, but with that we have to get the engineering estimate, then we have to put it out to bid. So. And that estimate was like 84,000, I think it was. And that was in June, and they were saying the prices were going to increase, so I'm guessing the 90s right now. But Pike Street needs it. So I'd like to just make a motion to direct Jared Nerd to proceed with the Etna proper east and west for the OPWC application requirements.
Need a second on that? Second. Are you seconded?
Okay. And then it'll come back, the OPWC application will come back to the board. I'll work on that, work on pre-scoring, do that. So it'll come back to the board, and even with the paving, that comes back to the board for approval. So.
A second. Roll call?
Mr. Evans?
Yes.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Ms. McKee?
Yes. So we're going to do the zoning report, which was provided. Any questions on that, on the road report that was provided?
On the zoning report?
Yeah, zoning report.
I do have a couple questions just on what's going on in that Lincoln county report on development, there's one proposed or going through the system on Columbia and 40 with storage and retail. Is that in the works or?
That's dead.
It is dead? Okay.
Their contract ran out on property, so it's gone.
Okay, I was just surprised. That's the first I heard of it. Okay.
And under zoning, well, you're still going, go ahead.
I do have one addition to that, and that is that on the Blue Monkey and the adjoining motel, the lights have been adjusted down. So they should be a little lower as far as intensity.
It is much better. I've been by a couple times a night.
Well, I appreciate that because that was pretty intense.
It was. Now it's much better.
And then I believe the last time I had on the report was the roll down door and
Yeah, and what we'd like to do is put a roll down door on that opening, roll down door, solid door on there, on his zoning office door. We're gonna lock things up in there. Things that come up like missing or they didn't go around. So we want to try to lock that down. I don't know what's going on in here, but so that's one way we can do that. Their records, we lock up the records for Julie. We lock up that door. We're gonna lock up back there too. And I have an estimate for the door. It's got an estimate of it. It was $750 for a steel roll down door that was kind of a, what was it? Not a beigey color, but a
that totally
white stone.
Toby, yeah, kind of a Toby color. So it matches what we're doing here. And you'd be able to roll it down, lock it up, and roll it back out there. There. And the lock, we're going to get off the kitchen door right there. It's got a lock on it. We need to have a kitchen lock door, so we're going to that lock on the other door, so that won't cost us anything because normal locks are $300 or $400 anymore.
Now, I think if you're talking about locking, we allow people to use this hall and that the door between the offices and here are locked. That should be
It should have a lock on it. Does it have a lock?
It's never locked.
Oh, it should be.
From here into that office? That's locked.
I find it locked all the time, so if that's
Well,
locked.
we unlock it
I
when
don't
there's
think-
nobody using it, we lock it when there is
Right,
somebody.
but why is there a need for a lock on a separate zoning door? Who are you trying to keep out? Just if that's separated from the residents here.
We're locking up records. And there's records in there. There are maps, there's other things. So we've locked, Julie's door has a lock on it.
Because she's the financial
That door
officer.
has a lock on it that she's responsible. There's records back in there that we're just going through and locking up all the records for.
Okay, that
So,
seems.
John felt that he needed that on there, and I agree with him on that.
I think one of the things, trying to be a little more conciliatory here. Files have been hidden from me. Files have been moved, kept from me. And if this is an effort to try to do that, I think that's a mistake. The Scannell files and that.
First I heard that.
I'm gonna put, I think a lock at that door is sufficient. If the only other people in that office are Laura, trustees, and that, I don't think that's necessary, but, we'll all have keys to it so we can access it as we want, but if you think that residents are getting back there, maybe that's a concern, but we'll have those security cameras.
President McKee, whenever appropriate.
Yes.
And just, to be fair, files have disappeared. And public files disappearing, create concern, and we have a remedy. Mr. Singleton has a remedy to enhance the protection of his area.
Yeah.
So I would make a motion that we spend $750 for a roll down, a roll up door, I guess, as stated in the estimate here.
I gave you a motion to have it.
Oh, did it?
So you have everything else.
How much do I, okay. Move to offer $750 to KSS Global LLC to install a roll-up door in his zoning office.
I'll second it. Discussion?
Are there options of like a glass divider window to keep that more
Well, you
open?
want Mr. Singleton to speak on that?
There's multiple reasons. The other is also that we have Zoom meetings, we have other kinds of meetings, that when you have people in the outer office,
So you need a little more
then
substantial.
it gives a little bit more sound control, soundproofing also.
Okay.
I didn't mention that, sorry. I brought that up too.
And did you say you looked at some glass doors? You mentioned, you said some other doors that you mentioned?
They had a roll down wooden door to match what we
That's
had.
expensive.
And it was like $3,000. So there is a roll down door on that one, on that opening where your camera is.
Can we use that one there?
No, it's not right now.
It's a different
It's narrow. But yeah, I thought about that too. I looked at that thing's a little, but you got a price on that because I wanted it to match, but obviously that was not a good option.
So is it automatic? You just got a little button to push?
Yeah. The gate drives the security.
Roll call?
Mr. Evans?
Yes.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Ms. McKee?
Yes.
I have another item here. I have a resignation from Mr. Stephen Shalhoub. Wants to, says thank you for being so kind to me and always having my back looking after the employee of this township. And he's been here 3 years and he is resigning as of August 12th. So I'd like to make a motion to accept his resignation.
He's going to be missed.
Yes.
Yep.
His transition in the zoning department as assistant zoning inspector was great.
Thank you, Steve.
Sad to see him go.
Appreciate you.
Best of luck to you, though.
Mr. Evans?
Yes.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Ms. McKee?
Yes. Okay, I'm going to turn the meeting over to Mr. Vance for the management consultant report, please.
Just a couple items, Madam President. Scannell, over the last couple of months, we have had renewed discussions with Scannell, and I understand that those discussions have been continuing over a long period of time. I can just speak over the last couple of months, and ever since initiating some of those communications, Mr. Harrington of Scannell has never shied away from the fact that there is a lot left to be desired associated with the current state of the stormwater infrastructure in that area. I spoke with him this morning. He had gotten a letter from the county by that point in time. The county's letter absolutely created a sense of urgency if one was needed, but his intent is to get started on those things much sooner as opposed to later. The opportunity to, I say it's an opportunity, even getting something done the second time, getting it done right is an opportunity, and that's going to provide other opportunities associated with the desire to raise the height of the wall and the calculations, the cost projections associated with that are almost done. I anticipate having another follow-up conversation with Mr. Harrington, with Mr. Singleton again being present, and also some technical resources that have yet to been introduced to the township as far as what their I guess positions are associated with cost and time frame for construction, etc. So we're going to have some additional specific information coming together here in the very near future. And that's all I have on Scannell right now. Tollgate.
One question, Scannell. Is there going to be any kind of research into exactly how high that wall should be? There were no line of site studies or anything like that. Is that being addressed, or are we just arbitrarily saying, I saw something 5 or 10 foot in the message to one of the homeowners? Is that being looked at so we know that the solution is going to work?
Informally, it seems like raising the wall height by 5 feet would not be enough. So informally, raising it by 10 feet has been discussed, but specifics, once again, once we talk with some of the technical folks, the engineering folks, and get their thoughts on tests to qualify actually how high the height should go. But the plain language description of how high it should go is, so I don't see the building. And so whatever that height needs to be, whatever location is associated with that house, it does not want to see the building. That's pretty much the bottom line.
I would just encourage to keep in mind the second building that's been approved, no economic incentives on it, but if that does move forward, that building should also be considered, because if you just build that wall behind the houses now, that second building is going to be coming at an angle here, so I think we got to be really thorough in this, so we get it right this time.
It was acknowledged today that getting stormwater and getting wall issues, corrected, would definitely be a priority associated with wanting to go forward with any new development in a very cooperative manner. Obviously, if you want to be good neighbors, you have to do what's necessary to, fulfill your end of that bargain at times. And right now, Scannell's got to address their stormwater, and they're willing to address the wall. So that was discussed. And Tollgate Road, Royal Acres, stormwater, those are more permit issues. And Mr. Singleton and I have been working with soil and water representatives, county planning representatives over the last few weeks. And we have a meeting on August 10th, I believe, to look at the specific information that we've been searching for. Storage 1, lighting and stormwater. Storage 1 has new owners. We understand that they have flexibility to build 3 additional buildings, I think it is, but obviously I believe everybody involved here at the Board of Trustee level understands that the tree plantings, the bufferings were never installed associated with the initial development approvals. So at this point in time, I haven't spent a whole lot of time figuring out why that has yet to occur. We've been concentrating on how to make it occur. So we're going to meet with the new property owners, and I anticipate communicate a sense of urgency to fulfill the zoning agreement or the development agreement as it stood 5 years ago. There are new owners, but they need to get in accordance with what was agreed to, because just a change of ownership does not relieve the new owners of what was negotiated previously associated with what's tied to that property.
All right, I have a question on that. Are we looking at the breakdown in our procedures that allowed that to be unenforced for 5 years? Should we be looking at kind of that process to ensure that anything in the past, but also moving forward, is properly enforced?
I think enhancing our communications with the county would pay a lot of dividends, since they assume a lot of responsibilities for us associated with planning approvals and inspections and building inspections, engineering and building inspections. I think those things should have been sorted out, and obviously the township and the county have a lot of flexibility associated with certificates of occupancy. If a development is not developed the way it was agreed to be developed, then you do not issue a certificate of occupancy for the public use of those buildings. And so I think that's the biggest thing to concentrate on going forward, and that's what we're going to immediately convey upon meeting with these new property owners is you have room to grow this development, and if you desire to do so, we need to get this tree buffer in as it was agreed to initially. And that's all I have.
Okay, thank you. All right, we move on to water and sewer's report that was provided by Trent Stepp.
Is there any update on discussions regarding capacity and that? I have not been able to contact Rob Platt. I believe I've heard that they're discussing with you, Ms. McKee, and maybe Ms. Evans. Do you have an update on that?
I don't have an update, but I will have an update on the next meeting.
And President McKee, the only thing I can update from a staff perspective is we did put together a correspondence that you approved that we sent to the chairman of the Water and Sewer District Board seeking a meeting between President McKee and that individual, and we have yet to be successful with that request.
I don't have anything to report regarding the cemeteries, so I'll move on to Parks and Recreation. Last week, we, well, over here smiling, we took the truck, Mr. Singleton, myself, and Brian, and Stephen, and along with the engineer to go look at our park land that we purchased off of Smoke Road. And when we got there on the property, we were, what, 50 feet off the road? We got stuck. We were stuck in Bubba's nice big red truck. So, because we will be in the future going over to that property as much as we can, and we need to be over there as much as we can, working with engineers. So Bubba's tires, they're not fit to get on that property at all. Like I said, we're just near 50 feet off the road. And so Bubba had to come over with a tractor and pull us out. That's how bad it was. So we got out safe. But with that being said, he has the wrong tires on that truck. So I would like to move to authorize $1,308.25 to Trail West, which is a local business here in Etna.
Ms. McKee,
Yes.
before you say that or not, the tax needs to be taken off.
Oh, does it?
Yeah. So just do the $1,219.80.
12 what?
$1,219.80.
We can get a tax exemption.
Okay. Thank you. Okay.
Is this on the truck with plywood sometimes? Oh, it's a different one, okay.
That's just, this truck.
Okay, so it'd be the subtotal here. Okay.
It's a smaller truck.
There you are. All right. So I move to authorize $1,219.80 to Trail West for tires for the truck that we have here in Etna. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Discussion?
Are the tires currently on there bad, or?
No, they're just basic street tires, I mean, just rain, snow.
No, do we need, because we're discussing, and I was gonna look to present to the JEDZ board, because Bob and I discussed having the all-terrain vehicle, it's the smaller Bobcats and stuff like that. I think that would be more appropriate, and maybe use that money towards that if the JEDZ doesn't. I mean, I don't know how often you're gonna be running through farmland to
Well,
for
like I
the
said,
tires.
we were just 50 feet off the road, but you're talking about one of those side-by-sides, is that what you're talking about?
Yeah,
Or-
two, three, because
Right.
we've discussed the need for it for being able to mow more for the additional. So that's one thing we have been looking into, and I was going to approach the JEDZ board to see if we could pay through those funds. So I don't know. I mean, is this a big need, Bubba, to have those tires to be running through there, or?
Yeah, I mean, that's, they're getting it's due for a new set. So.
Okay, so if it's due for you, so, okay.
Yeah.
I just want to make sure we're not throwing away good new tires. So.
I'd save them too, in case something.
Are these good for winter too?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Good for all around, all season.
All right.
Roll call.
No.
Mr. Evans?
Yes.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Ms. McKee?
Yes. Trustee Johnson, do you have anything regarding the fire district?
Yeah, I did, a couple things. First of all, we received the bids back for our new firehouse up there on Taylor Road. They could be within 10% of what we had the initial price out on. It was way over 10%, with all the adjustments, so we adjusted up and had a rebid. I believe the lowest came in at 5.2 million or something like that. Really high, so everything went up. So we put it back out for bid, we adjusted, put it back out for bid, we'll see if we get back on it. The other thing is Union Township and Hebron, we reached agreements with those about bringing them into our fire district, making them part of our fire district. This would help our district in such a way that people on the east end of the township, really at 402, which is the York Road 40 station, is out. We really don't have any support anywhere else in that area. That's good. A lot of times we provide support over to the east, or I guess it'd be the west end of Union, and over that direction. This would provide us, we would be provided with better coverage, having them as part of our district, especially when 402 is out. So there's a lot of things that can happen. We better coverage up around the whole eastern end, even clear up north, what's the Outville area also. So we reached what they call it, MOU, understanding, what's that called, Mark?
MOU, memorandum of
understanding, that's it, memorandum of understanding. So to take that over, it would cost the district
nothing at this point. The money we've gotten is, that we're going to get from will cover all expenses. We have a mechanic that'll work on the trucks, additional trucks and different things that'll be in there. Everything else will pretty much be covered. We would be seeing the people out there in the fire district. The people in those stations are staying, so we're working with that. See if they want to come over to West Lincoln Fire, whether they would tend to seek employment elsewhere. We do have a lot of part-time firefighters that are on our roster now, so we should have no problem in filling positions if they were to leave at that point. Our goal is to take this over shortly. So that's out there right now. Plus we have a renewal levy that's going to be on the ballot in November. It will be for, is it 1.5 mils, I believe? But it's a renewal that'll be out there. Basically, it's a renewal of the one we have, except we are changing it a little bit to where it will be a continuous thing, so it won't come up every so many years. You're going to keep voting for it. Eventually, it'll work its way out. We'll have to bring it up, but not till we want to increase it. So that's what I have.
You said Hebron and West Virginia?
Hebron and Union.
Union.
If I have any questions, they can talk to me after. I'll answer them about that.
Thank you, Jeff. Is there anything else to report under the JEDS or the JEDS?
No, I do have a question though. I saw in one of the attorney bills, JED 8 discussions. Would like an update on that and what it is. I have no clue what that is, and I would hope, that the board, the full board's being apprised of what's being discussed.
What attorney bill was that for
Peter Griggs.
I'm sorry?
Peter Griggs, Brocious Griggs, and I forget the last part, mentioned JED 8. So is there a JED 8 discussion? I did a public records request on it and have not gotten anything back.
No, the JED 8 is not even up and running. That would be your, what is it, sheets? And then the retail that would go in front of the apartments at 310 and 40.
Well, that's what I'm saying. The board hasn't been apprised of what that is, what properties are being contemplated. So I think those are the type of updates that this board needs to receive.
Right, I understand, but where did you get this information, Mark? That's what I'm asking you.
By reviewing our attorneys' detailed, and that's why detailed bills are important.
Exactly, that's why we always ask for those.
To indicate what is being worked on, and JED 8 was included in that, which again, I'm concerned that the full board's not being apprised of what's being considered as far as development, economic agreements. Is that part of the water and sewer discussion? Is that?
President McKee, whenever appropriate.
I just think the board needs to be updated on this stuff.
Well, two things. One thing, it's been past practice. It's been past practice, as far as I understand, that potentially there were conversations, negotiations that went on between an entity distinct from the township and an attorney who represents the interests of the township.
Right.
And no officials from the township could be present for those discussions, but a bill is generated. That bill is sent to the township for payment. The first and only opportunity that I've had to influence a practice like that in the not too distant past, we were successful at meeting with the attorney from the Water and Sewer District, just to talk about capacities, to talk about development, to talk about growth, to continue to get educated as to the challenges they have, so that Etna Township is in the best position possible to help them be successful. Their success is our success. And at that point in time, my recollection is the attorney for the district indicated to Mr. Griggs, okay, so I will be calling you and we will figure this out. And I said, my question at that point in time was, is the Water and Sewer District, do you have business with Mr. Griggs? Are you going to be, paying Mr. Griggs for his time? And my recollection is the answer was yes. So it appears that we need to check on that bill if it was billed to the township, because I don't believe that that would be appropriate.
Well, he's our attorney for the economic development. We separate from Elbers and Elbers because Elbers and Elbers was the attorney for the water district and the township and the JEDs and the JEDZs. So we separated that, but what I'm saying is apparently there's discussion regarding the capacity and you know, I don't know if there's tips involved in that.
Whenever appropriate.
We should have a discussion as a board of what direction we want to go into, not just directed by one, and especially if the water district chief legal counsel is the one directing it, because I've had real issues with him with his perjury in the referendum case. So he doesn't have the best.
President McKee, I'd say before we go too far down the wrong road, let me just say, we had an opportunity to discourage anybody utilizing township resources and then sending the bill to the Township Board of Trustees. I've had one opportunity to do that that's presented itself, and we're 1 for 1. We indicated that would not be appropriate. Right. So if those charges made it to a bill, we need to investigate why they did. I agree.
Thank you. Ms. Varian, do you have anything for the fiscal officer's report?
No, I don't have anything this time.
Okay. Just wanted to ask though, Ms. Varian, if we could get a monthly report to the board, just monthly, that would be appropriate for us to get a monthly report of the...
I think we talked about it, that would come at the second meeting of the month.
Okay. So what do is then...
Did we get one last meeting, Rose?
I'm sorry?
Did we get one last meeting?
Yes.
I think I saw one last meeting, yeah, I was reading through it.
The second meeting in July.
Yeah, that's the one we're talking about. That's what you're looking for?
No.
Oh, you're looking for a different one?
Yeah. And that's all the ones with the checks. It's like a registry.
Ms. Varian, I saw an email about, well, we...
Go ahead, Ms. Varian. What did you say?
Well, I had a quick question. The UAN access, I saw that email with that. Would that be able to allow us to pull reports that we want?
Yes.
So I think that might be a good option.
Well, let her answer. She can answer her own question.
I did talk with
She's our fiscal officer.
I did talk with UAN recently and inquired because some of the trustees have wanted to have access to the UAN, which is the accounting system that I use. And I can give multiple different levels of access, full access. I can give if we do start to do requisitions, then I can give you rights to go in and create requisitions that can be approved or denied or reviewed. And that comes at no cost to us to add users, and we can start the requisition process if you like.
But we need a modification to the IT.
Yeah. So we need a modification to the IT system here, which we would all have to be able to tap into the network. So I don't think that's possible now because I think the prior IT guy started it, but I don't think it was ever accomplished.
So if you can give us a check registry monthly, then we won't need.
Yeah, I don't need to give
Yeah,
you
we won't need to
I
get
don't
the
think we should
UAN.
be in, but I think that should be yours.
But you have read only.
Yeah, if you do that, Julie, we're fine. That's fine. That's accurate. Adequate.
But do you need the UAN, or do you need the IT access separately anyway, don't you?
Well, the IT access would make it possible for us to share that OneDrive and share documents, and we have an electronic storage rather than 5 or 6 of us.
Are you saying you want to put stuff out from UAN on the OneDrive? Is that what you're saying?
No.
Okay.
It would just be on the network. You can't access UAN unless we're all on the same network.
That's right.
Because I have program on my computer at home, well, I don't. I have a computer here, and I have to tap in to it here. But in order to give other users access, you have to.
Personally, I think you should leave it like that. I would want.
Well, you wouldn't be able to edit anything.
It doesn't matter. I would rather not have any way of getting access except for your VPN, and to tell you the truth.
So
I mean, it's your responsibility ultimately. I don't think you would want else messing with it. We've all seen what hackers get in and different things like that. Just to close your loops.
Monthly report?
Yeah, I think
Is that easier for you?
That's fine. I mean, I do that anyway.
Does that make it?
The resolution for the purchase orders, do we need to do that?
Oh, yeah, that's great. We need to do the resolution for the purchase orders, which has the Pavement Technology Inc. on it for the asphalt rejuvenator agreement.
So I'll make a motion to approve resolution number 220802-02 to approve purchase orders as presented.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, discussion? Roll call?
Mr. Evans?
Yes.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Ms. McKee?
Yes. Okay. I move to pay the bills as presented. Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion? Roll call?
Mr. Evans?
Yes.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Ms. McKee?
Yes. Okay, there's no new business this evening, so we'll go over to the old business. The trustees need to provide a harassment training, and I propose we provide this through the Fisher Downey. That's our attorneys that actually helped us put this sexual harassment training in our employee handbook together. And I move to authorize $500 for Fisher Downey, and I propose that we provide it through them as well, the training. So is there a second?
President McKee, well,
Yes.
I'll wait till discussion.
I'll second it for discussion.
Yeah, okay. Discussion?
Is this training in-house? Is
It's
it
in-house.
virtual?
It's an in-house training that would take place August 15th, on Monday at 9 o'clock. All employees would be involved in taking the training, and will have to sign off the document that they took the training and completed it.
So is it
And it will go in
mandatory?
their personnel file.
All employees, all trustees, mandatory?
All employees, trustees, manager, every person in the township. That's all.
I will be out of town.
Mandatory.
Yeah,
Mandatory.
I don't know if I can make it the 15th.
Okay, we can change it, it's not a problem. It's not set in stone. So we have the 15th for the attorney, he's already said he could do the 15th.
Yes, schedule for that.
But if there's some way we may have to do a few in the evening, he's willing to do that, so it's not set in stone.
She didn't have the date of the training in our motion, it was just a discussion.
Yeah, so. But for the people like Bub and your employees, they can come during the daytime and get theirs.
He has to do it for
Yeah.
one,
Yeah,
you're
he's
probably
fine.
gonna have more money.
Is it gonna
No,
cost?
not really, because it's up to $500. It may even cost $500, it may cost $150. Yeah. So, okay. Roll call?
Mr. Evans?
Yes.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Ms. McKee?
Yes. Is there any announcement? I'm sorry. go ahead.
Do you have the proposal for that yet, or? can you
No,
give it
it's
to me?
just, yeah, I can give it to you though. I don't have an actual proposal.
Oh,
That's
that's
just what's
purchase
been,
order.
that's the same one that did our agreement, so we can get a proposal $500.
Okay.
I can get that to you. You have something, Mr. Vance?
I was just going to say, the only thing I have right now is an email
Yes.
confirming the price.
That's correct.
Yes, ma'am.
Is there any announcements under the trustee comments?
Yes, I've got a couple. First of all, the Blessing Box is having a fundraiser with Chipotle. I believe it's tomorrow between 4 and 8. 30 or 33% of sales if they reach $150. If you let them know it's for the Blessing Box, we'll go towards the Blessing Box. So if you like Chipotle, I know some of our employees that do, they can probably reach that 150 mark on their own. Do that. I would like to briefly talk about Laurel Drive. I sent the board information on this, the map. I still believe that we need to determine how we're moving forward before we get signatures, because otherwise, what's the point?
Well, that's it, Mark.
So
The point is we have to get those signatures. Once we get the signatures, then we can move forward. If we don't have signatures, we can't move forward.
There's a question on cost, because some people say if it's not the original proposed cost from the prior board, that they're not in it. Nobody's spoken to the people on the east side of the access. It was understood that it was only on the west side, which I think we need to determine the whole thing. So I think we're putting the cart before the horse by not determining what we want to go through there. Then the other thing is, one of the requested items was the sheriff vehicle purchase discussion.
That's going to be on the next.
I've reached out to Lieutenant Carlson about that. I'm going to ask for a meeting with him to discuss the vehicle purchases. They're moving forward with the hiring, but it's delayed. They're still seeking that, but I had sent Mr. Carson and copied you guys that I was going to meet with him since he wasn't included on the topic today. I did have a request from a resident that lives over here by the park for a basketball hoop. There's an old one that's there now, and asking our board if we would purchase a new one. So I'm not sure, with you being in the park, it's on the north end of our park.
I don't have to look at it.
I believe the one out here was provided by a resident down here. He asked permission a couple years ago to put it out there.
Okay.
Remember
So
that,
the
Jeff?
township
There was
hasn't
a-
paid for it?
Yeah, but
Okay.
What?
the resident down here asked permission to put a basketball hoop out there.
Okay.
And the board gave him permission to do it.
Was it
Oh, like a rolling one or something.
Okay, well, he's just asking, he said a lot of kids do it. He's asking if maybe we could do that, so I wanted to pass that along to the board. Then I want to remind everybody on Thursday, August 25th, between 6 and 8, I'll be hosting a Pike Street open house here for information on the proposed Pike Street improvements. We'll have maps showing what is proposed and have a discussion. I did see an email where Mr. Lozier was asking the board members if we wanted to have a public input session, which that's what that is. I asked before if the board wanted to participate. The board didn't. Is there a change of mind maybe now that we should have it as a board and make it a work session, or should I just continue on my own?
Well, Mr. Vance made sure that Lozier made sure that you knew that I was heading up that project. And if it becomes a 2 or 3 trustees, it would have to be a meeting.
All we have to do is announce it, so it could be a work session.
That's correct, that's correct.
So do we want to announce it?
So I was working on that project, so I don't know how you ended up just, taking it on, but because I was working with Mr. Lozier to try to move forward in the project. 'Cause I know in the beginning, you were kind of against us getting the money for Pike Street, the application, trying to get the federal funds. But I would like to see it move forward because it's just to benefit the township and also to benefit the residents of Pike Street.
Right, and my purpose of this is transparency to the residents. I think they should know what's proposed. The changing to 10-foot bike paths and 7-foot sidewalks is getting this closer to residences. Some businesses will lose parking spots. So this is an opportunity for the residents to see the plan, discuss it. I would have liked to have the board involved, the full board involvement on it. So would this board like to move forward with an official work session and open house on the 25th so that we can all participate, all discuss with the community and move forward? I think that would be the most appropriate, and that's what I hoped for last time. But I want to move forward to provide as much information.
Yeah, and I want to make sure that we are following ODOT's that we have to do it in a particular manner.
This is just about information.
It is information, but it's still a way that you present that to the resident.
They'll have
I'm
their
following
separate.
it. Yeah, I'm
public.
Correct. So that's why I want to make sure that we are in compliance with them to make sure that we are doing the right things because ODOT is a lead on this project. So if we could work to make sure, and that's why Mr. Bill Lozier sent us an email letting us know that we have to follow. Yes.
He asked if we wanted to do a public informational session prior to the federal one, but again, I'll move forward with the Thursday, the 25th. If the board wants to piggyback on that, I'm more than happy to. We just have to announce it.
Right.
The other thing, I'm very concerned about the solar exclusionary zones also, and here's.
Are you going to be helping out with the solar?
That's what I want to see if there's agreement because, well, there's a lot of things in the works outside these meetings. And that, but so I'm going to work with Judy Kaffmeyer and the others involved in this to try to move this forward. But I hope that we have an agreement on this board that there is interest in pursuing this.
And Judy, you know that I've been involved with this for several months, so I'm glad you can get Mr. Evans to be involved as well. Hopefully, our other trustee, Mr. Johnson, will be able to be involved. So that's good to hear. So I think she brought it to the your meeting last week.
Yes.
Bring that.
And
So
then,
that's good to know. And then I guess eventually you yourself, Mr. Singleton, will be involved to some point.
and then one of the other things, like I said, I reviewed the Peter Griggs, Brocious Griggs invoice, and when he was originally brought on, there was a $10,000 authorization for that. I think we might be exceeding it if we pay this invoice. I think we're going to need to take board action on that to increase it. I mean, he's doing a lot of work, a lot of development work, so I think that's, originally he wanted a $5,000 limit. I did that at $10,000 when we brought him in. So I think either we have to remove that limit or increase it. And that was only approving for this year, so the resolution will have to change for next year on that. So.
Well, I'd like to move that change to another comment in regards to emails. I would like to move that only one person can have access to their own email besides the IT company that we hired as a contractor to have access for emails and passwords only. I will not have access to your email, nor Mr. Johnson, nor Julie's, nor Laura's, or Mr. Singleton, or Mr. Vance. Each person has access to their own email.
Okay,
So I would move to make a resolution that will only be the case for this township. We will not be going in other people's email.
So can you restate what you want for just the motion without?
Move that only the person, meaning myself or yourself, has access to their own email, and the IT company as a contractor will only have access to your email.
With the caveat excluding public records requests.
Well, public records request is different.
Right.
So if I was,
You're
you
not
still,
getting a second on those motions, so you're going to have to repeat it for a second.
yeah. So I'm asking for a second. Is there a second?
Second.
So can you restate the motion without?
I move that only the person who has access to their email and the IT company have access to those emails and password only.
And Jeff seconded.
Jeff seconded. Is there a discussion?
Very much so.
Can I check with the Records Commission and see what that, like, I'm not saying no, I'm just saying all trustees have access to all records all the time.
Correct.
So if something happens to one of you and we need your
That's
email,
where the IT company comes in.
but then your resolution says that we can't access it.
Yeah, the IT company can. Just like, I have a director that left, but I need all of these emails from that director. So the IT staff can pull all that information and present it. So, I mean, my question is, and this is nothing different. All of these years, we've had trustees in all over this state. Jeff, have you ever had access to Laura's email or Mr. Singleton's?
No, I don't
Or
have access to
Carlisle's or
them.
Ford's?
If I want, I can make public records request.
Or what's his name, Mr. Wiley? Did you have access to their emails?
No, I shouldn't have access to the only ones they send me.
And it never prevented you from doing your job as a trustee?
No.
All right,
I really
so,
don't. I mean, to me, I think you want to password your own email. If you want to send somebody an email, that's your prerogative. Now, the question is the public records thing, right? So we would have to provide you anything that was a public thing.
We've done that all along, and that's what everybody does. Yes, yes. Are you, I mean, what do you say no? What do you mean by that?
well, no, because I as trustee have had to make public records requests and they are not complied with. I just sent another email that it wasn't complied with. And the impetus of this was I verified with the prosecutor a trustee's right to township records, access to the building, because little by little they're trying to keep me from seeing things, keep me from knowing things. And the prosecutor actually said all trustees have a right to the emails, to the zoning emails, to the secretary emails, to that. No one is looking for a personal trustee's emails because that's your office. However, it was in the opinion, and I believe you've seen it, that I do have the right, because the administration of this township is being withheld from me. Like I said, there's been files that have been hidden and moved when requested. There's information is not being provided. So I verified with the prosecutor that I have that right. Now, I reached out to the IT consultant and said, I would like to have read-only access to the general township emails, zoning, secretary, operation, and that. And they have not, he said he was going to do it last week. I have a feeling that others have told him not to. I may be wrong, but he's not complied. But the prosecutor actually stated I do have that right as a trustee, as part of my elected office, to oversee the administration of this township, and records cannot be withheld from me. And that's where the lock on the zoning office is coming from, because the only way I know about what's happening in this office is coming after hours and just seeing, hey, what's on the desk? What's on that
so
desk?
you're going on people's desks after work out.
And
Mark,
Ms. Brown,
have you tried to come during the day when we're here so we can help you with the files on our desk?
I do not.
Have you come during the day when I'm here and asked me for files on my desk instead of coming in the evening when no one's here and going through my desk?
Let me respond. I do not get responses from Mr. Singleton whatsoever. Ms. Brown does respond occasionally and provide information.
Anything you have asked me for, Mr. Evans.
However, like I said, zoning, there was the Scannell file I asked for. I was in here after hours getting the mail. I have a job during the day in that. I asked Mr. Singleton, hey, do you have that file, just to see what he said. It was on his desk. And nope, the next day it was moved, still wasn't provided that. Now, as part of my duties as a trustee.
That's not true.
I have photos.
I said I had not had the chance to go through it to get the information you wanted.
But that's not what I requested. But what I'm saying is I verified with the prosecutor, and if it's something that I need to, I'm trying not to be contentious here, but a trustee should be able to see general township emails and what's going on. Like I said, nothing is being updated. I found out that the union negotiation, the contract was sent to the union without any input from the board or the actual supervisor to that department. And we're waiting for the union to approve it, and then it's just going to be brought to the board for a vote.
That's not true.
But what I'm saying is, Mr. Singleton has not, for months, ever since the turnover on the board, has not responded to anything. So as part of my duties, I am going to seek and get access to those general township emails, not a trustee's email, not the fiscal officer's email, but those emails to understand what's going on in this township, because that is being withheld from me.
Nothing's being withheld from you. Mr. Johnson,
The number of emails I get, your name's on.
I don't get it. I mean, we have trustees who's been here. Burkholder, he was a trustee before. Did you have access to Laura's emails? Sir, excuse me?
I didn't need access at
Okay,
the time
that's
because
it.
we had accountability to
Thank you.
the trustees.
So, you know what?
You're going to ask me a question, you're going to let me answer.
No, and you answered it.
No, you cut me off.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but you answered what I needed you to ask. Did you have access? That was a yes or no.
If you're going to bring up emails, I
That
made
was
two
a
public
yes.
record requests to Mr. Johnson and Mr. Singleton, and they still haven't been responded to regarding the Scannell project. So if you want to know about emails and timely response on public records, I've asked twice now and I haven't gotten them.
So have you asked for anything from Mr. Brown, from Mrs. Brown, Laura Brown?
I'm not talking about Laura Brown.
I'm asking you though. I just asked.
No, because I asked the people that have the record of the zoning department, and I asked Mr. Johnson, because he's over the zoning department, for the lighting study that had, or the sound study that had to do with the Scannell law.
Okay.
That's part of the review and the accountability over there on the sound. I've requested on the 20th and the 28th of July, and I still haven't gotten it. So if you're going to have a discussion about public records, then let's talk about the ability for the public to request them and get them in a timely fashion.
Exactly.
So I agree with Mr. Evans. It's like pulling teeth to get information out of staff and other trustees.
Not him, but Mr. Johnson.
And even as trustee, I cannot get information. I have to resort to public records requests which aren't filled. It's a shame, and like I said, the prosecutor verified that. And I would hate to have to file a lawsuit, but I will.
Well,
because this is my duty as an elected official to oversee, and things cannot be kept from me. Keys cannot be kept from me so I can't access areas that everybody else has access to.
I don't have access to any of the rooms that are locked. I have no access to any, I have no keys for this hall at all. So that's not true. If we pass a resolution, the prosecutor can give you his opinion. That's all he can do. But if we say I don't have access to your email, I don't want it. But
that's trustees are different than employees in general email in the township. And again, the prosecutor indicated that. I'm sure you've seen that.
I saw it, but that's not meaning that he knows. That I agree with.
That's our legal counsel, and
that's his opinion. That's only an opinion.
If records and access continue to be withheld, there will be a lawsuit against the township.
Roll call. See, that's a threat. You threatened us. That's inappropriate. Roll call.
Can I speak for a moment?
Yes, ma'am.
Since my office is technically responsible for all these records requests, and my office also has access to its own lawyer, how about I, as a neutral...
You have access to your own lawyer, you said?
Yes. Like, I mean, as a fiscal office, the fiscal office has a right to...
The prosecutor.
To a prosecutor or its own legal counsel.
Okay, yeah.
How about if I further this discussion on my own as the records person with my own legal counsel? Would that be appropriate? I'm kind of not asking him.
More input.
Well, I'm not trying to say, no input, but...
I just think that in order to appease everybody, maybe it would be easiest if I just coordinate with legal counsel of some sort, and then we can move forward.
Okay.
Is that all right?
That's fine. That's fine. That's fair.
And unless Rosalind removes her motion and Jeff's second, you still have to roll call.
Yeah.
Okay.
Roll call.
Mr. Evans?
No.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Ms. McKee?
Yes.
Moving in the wrong direction.
Now, for the record, though, if this officer gets more information, you can always discuss it. For Robert's purposes, you had to call it.
Right.
The appropriate action would be
You'll still move forward, Mrs. Marion, correct? With checking with your counsel?
Yeah.
I would like to.
Please check.
Thank you.
And I'll be speaking.
I'm sorry?
And I'll be speaking to mine.
Okay, thank you. All right, let's move forward with this. Okay. I would like to make a motion that none of the decor in this room be removed off the walls. Somebody keeps coming.
Are you speaking of the John Carlisle picture over here
No,
that
the
you guys keep putting up?
The Columbus Dispatch, Etna Township, that's up here on this wall right here.
Right.
Somebody keeps taking it down. I don't know what's going on.
That I removed and put a neutral development thing up there, but as I understand, Mr. Johnson.
So you're the person, I didn't know who was doing it.
Oh, yeah.
Somebody kept, every
But
time I
Mr.
came-
Johnson kept putting it up there, and I think it's more appropriate that we don't have Mr. Carlisle after all the impropriety in that.
Now, let me ask you this, how do you know I put it up there, Mark?
I got a second. You have a motion.
Laura
Got a second,
told.
please.
Laura told.
Jeff never put that up on the wall, and I never told you that, because Jeff isn't the one that keeps putting that back on the wall.
You sent me the email saying that Mr.
No, I
Johnson.
said if you have any concerns, to talk to Jeff Johnson. Jeff did not put that back on the wall.
I don't understand the allegiance where that's
No, we could just-
required up there, but if that's what you want to vote to keep Mr. Carlisle up on the wall, that's up to you.
I don't
You're assuming that whole
understand.
thing is about Mr. Carlisle. It's not, if you read it more carefully, Mark. And I don't like you making assumptions that you don't know the correct answers for, so.
We were having such a good meeting.
We were.
You guys can put my picture up there.
Okay.
I make a motion to put Rachel, Lenny, and AJ and the kids.
So did we?
My kids are very cute.
Yeah, roll call.
You need to clarify your second.
Yeah, clarify my motion to get a second, that we will not remove any decor off the walls in the township without a vote.
Without board.
Sorry, board vote, correct.
Wow.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Roll discussion we just had.
So,
Discussion, go ahead. Don't let it.
wow, okay, I'll just say wow.
Okay.
Roll call then.
Roll call.
Mr. Evans?
No.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Ms. McKee?
Yes. Okay. Is there a motion to adjourn?
Sure, I make it.
Is there a second? Roll call.
Who seconded it? I didn't hear it.
He did. Jeff. Mr. Johnson.
Johnson made it.
Johnson made
Roll
the
call.
motion, so somebody has to second.
I second. Roll call.
Mr. Evans?
Yes.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Ms. McKee?
Yes, for the record, 8:39.
So close, so close.
You didn't say anything about covering it up.